Hi, everybody. This is Marguerite Rigoglioso of Seven Sisters Mystery School, and I want to welcome you to this call on how to move through blocks to your sacred career. I would like to first welcome Kimberly Gibbons, the Chief Strategist of Seven Sisters Mystery School. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you, Marguerite.
Good to have you here. And it's good to be with everybody. There are more than 200 people on this call, and so this is telling us that this is a hot topic among spiritual workers, light workers, people who have in mind moving into right livelihood with their spiritual gifts. So, Kimberly, I will let you start us off with a question to launch us.
Okay, thank you. So my first question is, you are the founder of a mystery school and teaching a lot of spiritual and esoteric principles and working with priestesses. So how does that connect with sacred career development?
Yeah. Right. At Seven Sisters Mystery School, we have four main strands of what we do. I help women look at sacred history, women's sacred history, from a new feminine perspective, looking at who were the ancient goddesses, who were the ancient priestesses, what do we need to know from our past, and how do we need to revision our past. I also look at esoteric and psychic skills and practices. I look at the stream that has to do with doing ritual, making a real effect in the world through our action, through our spiritual actions. And then the fourth strand is this sacred career development, to put it all together, because it's one thing to know about esoteric and spiritual principles and to be able to practice. It's another thing to be able to weave it into a sacred career. And that's what is really needed in the world today. And I work not only with women, but also men. I have various offerings for men. And so it always comes down to, okay, this is great, but what do I do? How do I take this step of combining what I know into a real right livelihood? Is that actually possible?
Okay. So if someone comes to you and decides that they want to establish a sacred career for themselves, first of all, what does sacred career mean? If I want to be in a sacred career, does that mean it has to be like psychic or as priestessing or clairvoyant? I mean, is that how we're defining sacred career?
Right. We are defining sacred career very broadly as there are spiritual workers, light workers, and people who are basically aiming toward helping others and the planet heal and expand their consciousness. So that includes a whole range of people, from therapists to body workers to other spiritual light workers who do all sorts of healing or teaching modalities, teachers in the spiritual realms. I just have many, many clients who are doing all sorts of things. I have a woman who is working on a business where she is helping other parents of autistic children through the system, and she's bringing spiritual principles in to help them work with their children. I have another client who is creating a sacred business whereby she's going into the homebound who have Alzheimer's or cognitive or physical impairments, and she's bringing singing entertainment as well as essential oil therapy. I have another client who has been working on creating camps for children that are sort of like Harry Potter camps, teaching them higher level principles, all sorts of things. Therapists, I have relationship therapists. So there is a whole host of things that could be considered sacred career, and probably every single person listening to this call would fall into that category in one way or another.
Okay, thank you. So once a person identifies that, yes, they do have a calling and they want to step into sacred career, in your experience, what has been one of the first blocks that people hit, and how do you coach them through that?
Right. There are a few things. One is that they don't have the model or the vision for how they could possibly start making a living at this. And so what I show them is that there is an actual bona fide business model, which I call the tiered business model. Some people call the money mountain. There are other terms. But what it means is that you start creating offerings like programs and packages and things like that at varying levels of expense for your clients and varying levels of access to you, so that I help people understand that they need to move from a model of serving people one-on-one through session after session, or maybe just serving people through a class or a workshop, to understanding that if you're really going to monetize what you're doing, you have to learn how to combine and amplify the types of gifts that you're offering, the types of services that you're offering, offer multiple things at the same time, and create a robust package that then allows you to be able to charge appropriate money for it. So the first is helping them to get a vision of how what they're doing could be combined or parlayed into something. Like, it was a revelation when I did a half-day immersion, which is one of the services that I offer with one of my clients, Linda Ulrich. She is putting together this Healing Through Song and Scent with Linda. And we went through all of her, all of the things that she knows how to do, and she really, really wanted to be able to sing. She also knows about essential oils. She is also a former marriage and family therapist. She is also a former mental health lawyer. She's also a former caretaker of her father, who had Alzheimer's, or a mother who was ill, and a brother who was injured in an accident and was homebound. So put it all together, and we just laid out, oh my goodness, she could go into the homebound, do her singing, and then offer counseling services to these people for how to handle the ropes of what it takes to be a caretaker. So she's helping the caretaker, she's helping the homebound person, who is basically just resorting to TV for entertainment. And so she's going to be rolling that out soon. So that was one example, but I talked to many, many people, and I just start giving them the picture of how they could work this. The next step then is, okay, well, that sounds great, but I'm not exactly sure how I would do it, and I would need more guidance and help. And then I say, okay, yes, and to have that guidance and help, you need to make a financial investment in a mentor, either myself or someone else. And then usually they balk at that because they're so used to living kind of hand to mouth or not having appropriate funds that it seems an impossibility. Like, how would they ever start that virtual spiral? So, and then on the other hand, I have clients who actually, do have funds. They're well supported, and they don't know if they deserve it, or they don't know if it's worthwhile, or they don't know if they can ask their husband or wife for the funds in order to do that. So we have, I have to help them really shift their mindset about that. But for people who want to have initial funds to be able to do any kind of mentoring, and you do need to do it, because let's face it, most of us who have come into our spiritual gifts or our spiritual people do not have business or MBA background or anything like that. And quite frankly, the MBA background, even if you have it, could be helpful, but it is not really teaching you how to do entrepreneurship in a way that's going to create a sustainable business through this particular model, which is really proven, and people all over the Bay Area and all over the country are now embracing this very successfully. So what I generally do is I first just give them a little bit of laser mentoring to show them, well, how could you today start putting something together, even if it's like a 3-package session, and start making it known that you're doing this, making this offering, and how can you start inviting people to work with you? And I counsel people that they can do all sorts of things. They can send out an email, but the better thing for them to do is to either do a live in-person talk that can be free, or just to simply start calling people that they know, telling them that they're doing this. And one of the first things you can do is you can offer a free pilot. You can offer either a free complimentary session of 20 minutes or a half hour in which you will demonstrate what you're doing to the person, or you can offer maybe your first 2 or 3 people a free pilot of the 3 sessions that you're going to do, and just say, I'm rolling this out. I want you to be my guinea pig. You can do it for free in exchange for a testimonial at the end where I can use your name and so forth. So these are just some of the little laser pieces of coaching that I give people in order for them to start going out and making money today. And I have had people, there's one woman, for example, she's a gifted psychic, and yet she was totally panicked about money and her situation with her family. I said, you are sitting on a gold mine. Do you realize this? You could be going out tomorrow and hanging up your shingle, and working in this organization or that organization and starting to really do this. Well, she did it. She started getting herself out there, and she positioned herself in one place where she was basically giving free offerings, but then she was able to garner some clients that way. And so sometimes just getting a little laser guidance and counseling is what you need to jumpstart yourself so that you can start having the funding rolling in, and then you can make a further investment in a teacher, a mentor, or a coach so that you can really start running with creating a sacred business.
Okay. Well, that all sounds exciting and very doable, and especially the idea that a person already has all the skills that they need to get started today.
Yeah, because and I want to address that, Kimberly, also, because what I usually find is that when sometimes people talk to me and they're like, well, I think I need more training. And then I start having them list out what they actually know how to do, whether it's training they've already gotten or things that they're very natural at, like even if it's listening to people, brightening people's day, knowing how to give pep talks, in addition to all the other modalities that they've learned. And I show them, you already have a business that you don't even know is here. Or some people do know they have a business. They've started down the road, but they're not really getting any traction with it. And I show them how to amplify it, how to add value-added things to it, like, give your clients free meditations, give them perks like a group, one-day retreat that you're going to do together, and then work with them one-on-one. Allow them email access to you. That's another perk by which you can charge money. So the whole thing is that people basically have everything they need, particularly if you're in your 30s, 40s, you've got a lot of stuff behind you. You just need somebody to help you sort it out, weave it together, and embellish.
Okay. So once you've helped someone to see all the skills and offerings they already have, how do you work around the issue of what to charge? Do you find that people struggle with accepting payment for their services, especially in the role of a world server or sacred server or healer, and how do you coach them through that?
This is a huge issue. It's huge whether people have not yet started a sacred career or whether they're in one. And this is a major area where people generally need some restructuring of their beliefs. Because, let's face it, those of us who are conscious and aware are pretty much not thrilled with the capitalistic economy, right? We know that it is based on the rape of the earth. It is based on commodities. It is based on mining. It is based on stripping natural resources and destroying nature, killing animals, and manufacturing things into what ends up being dead matter. And there's a woman in Austria, Claudia von Verloff, who really addresses this and shows us what the end game is of a capitalistic system, which is things ending up in landfill, converting nature into garbage. So, so a lot of people have been turning to barter system or gift economy, which you see in things like Burning Man. And then in the barter system, you see that in indigenous cultures. You see a lot of gifting, bartering for services, and so forth, so that there's not so much a heavy emphasis on the cash economy. However, and there are people, in the contemporary world who are trying to move to the barter system. I really applaud that. I applaud those people. For myself right now, the way I'm working and the way I'm working with clients, I am working to help clients work with the capitalistic system and make it work for them, because just taking on the economic structure in a way to dismantle it is not what I'm about right now. It's about changing it from within. And so I'm in alignment with my coach, Maggie Ostara, and others who are really looking at shifting the flow of funds away from things like corporations and some of the major professions, which basically cause as much, if not more damage than good, and toward light workers, so that we can really get adequately compensated for our services. So understanding that cash is a way of life, the capitalistic economy is a way of life, and that we're all making money in one way or another. And usually it's to support things that are unethical in nature. And some of us are having our spouses support us. And, what do you find out that the spouse is doing? The stock market, real estate, things that are basically at their core destroying nature, So one way or another, most of us are in this system. So we need to make it work for us, and we need to make it work well. And we deserve to have money flowing into our coffers, and good money. Not just, I'm going to charge, $50 for an hour. If you add that up, you're not going to be making a very high salary, given that you can't even work full time because of all the logistics and everything. You need to think about charging much, much more, and getting away from the cash for hours, the charging by the hour type of system. You need to think about creating a program which is greater than the sum of its parts, that allows you to be able to charge more money for what you're doing and make people feel like they're getting real value. So part of the issue, along with sort of the philosophical thing of cash economy, capitalistic economy versus barter, is it ethical to take money for spiritual work at all? Because all of our religions and so many indigenous people say it isn't. Well, that does need to shift, because again, you need to get your money from somewhere. You're most likely either going to be earning very little and living hand to mouth, which I see a lot. I see a lot of people come to my calls really in poverty. Or you're working odd jobs and exhausting yourself, because chances are your earning power isn't very great. Or you're working a job that is a tremendous burden. It's a big job and it's exhausting you, and you're not allowed to make the right livelihood. Or you're being supported by a spouse who is doing something that's essentially unethical. Not entirely, but, a lot of times. They're feeding into the problematic system. So taking money for spiritual work is really important, because there are, I know that one student of mine said that she started stepping out, and a Native American person said, well, you can't take money for that spiritual work. It's not right. And so my thought is, well, how is that person being supported? Or how are people in that group, that nation, being supported? It may look different, but they're being supported. They're somehow getting their food. They're somehow getting their lodging. They're somehow getting taken care of. And usually it is in exchange for their spiritual gifts. And, these types of societies are few and far between, and they've been much decimated. And my contention is that the not taking money for spiritual work is part of a bygone era when there was a holistic system of communities taking care of one another through gifting, But now we are in the cash system, so you need cash, you need to pay your rent, and so forth. So that's one of the issues, is just being able to accept money, period, for spiritual work. And then, of course, there's the program that comes from certain religions that anybody who is a spiritual worker needs to take a vow of poverty. And, of course, when we really look at those structures that are proposing that, they're actually structures that have a lot of money at the top. So they are siphoning off the good works of those lower, putting them a poverty program, and yet it's hypocritical because there's actually a lot of money coming into those coffers. So we need to dismantle some of those beliefs. And then it's the issue of self-worth. The issue of self-worth. This is a big one. So even if you think, okay, you get past all the other hurdles with charging money, then it's how much and do I deserve it? And gosh, I can't ask for too much because that would just be unethical. So then we have to look at that next layer of what is too much, And basically there's no such thing as too much. What there is how would you ideally want to live? What is the income goal that you have in order to have all of the things that people want? Adequate food, adequate shelter, money for pleasure and money for investing back into your business. Maybe you want to have a piece of property where you can do your work. Well, if you don't already have those things, then those are goals to work toward. And how are you going to do that? Not by making $50 an hour. You are going to have to learn how to create high-end packages, and you are going to have to learn how to create other strata of your work that allows you certain passive income streams, or that allows you to leverage your time working with many at a lower price point so that you can draw funds to yourself in a more constant stream. So again, a lot of this comes back to people's self-worth. They have a lot of programs coming in from their parents, from society around them. And this is not exclusive to women, but I find it largely with women, that women still are under a program where it is not appropriate for women to make above a certain amount of money, or people couldn't possibly charge that much money. Their personal belief system doesn't accommodate it, and that is also where folks need some coaching.
Okay, wow, there's so many layers to this.
Yes.
So we've got a person who you've now shown that they already possess skills and gifts that they can package and start making money on immediately. You've addressed the issue of how much money to charge and being able to accept payment for services, even, spiritual or sacred services, and the connection to self-worth. So then what is the next block that people usually hit once they've made it through those two?
Right, exactly. So one of the things that comes up people will start working, and they will start creating these beautiful programs, and then they may even start having some success, like people coming to their events and so forth. But where they start getting afraid is in the realization that for this particular type of model to work, which is a sustainable business model that allows for growth and allows for you to be earning adequately, it does require making personal invitations for people to work with you for part of your week. In fact, a third of your time can be spent making invitational calls or contacts. And this is also where a lot of people become afraid. They feel that it's unseemly, it's untoward, it's going to turn people off, and they just cannot, some people have very difficult time mustering up what they need in order to be bold enough to reach out and make invitations. And this can take a while to massage through, get a handle on, and get some courage with, and also learn how to actually do it effectively. But the key piece is that this is not going like a door-to-door salesman with widgets that are basically useless and you're just trying to get people to buy so you can have money. It is important for you to understand that you are offering something that the world needs. And there are certain people in the world of 6+ billion people, there is a certain percentage of those who can only receive the gifts from you. It is your job to put out your beacon and draw those people to you and reach out to those who you see, who you discern could be of genuinely helped by what you're doing. So this is not randomly, doing cold calls and yellow pages. This is about seeing where the pain points are for people and just saying, hey, I can address this with you. Are you interested in hearing what I have to offer and the outcomes? So there's a whole way in which I help people understand how to approach others, how to make these invitations, what are some of the issues to touch on, and the main ones have to do with demonstrating the value to the customer by showing what are the outcomes going to be. And the outcomes are generally around 4 areas. These are the 4 areas in which people will initially pay money for. Anything having to do with relationships, particularly romantic ones, and improving that area of their life. Anything having to do with health or mental health, and improving that area of their life. Anything having to do with career, coming into their fulfillment, and anything having to do with increasing their money. If you can show that what you are doing can help people in any of those areas of their life, you're more likely to have people begin to work with you, at least initially. Then once you start developing rapport with people and an amplified reputation of what you're doing, you can branch into things that might sound a little outside of those. It might sound a little more spiritual, like self-fulfillment or beauty or, just any of the types of things that people offer. Getting in contact with the astral plane, all these types of things. But a viable business, and this is another block that people might have, is a viable business generally has to at least start with addressing people's pains and needs in one of those 4 portals: relationship, health, career, or money. So I I have to coach people to make sure that their offering is robust enough and addresses real needs enough that they are having something people will pay money for. Then I work with them on how to do the phone conversations, because most of this happens through phone. Some of it can happen in person. And, you know, but a natural thing is to offer first the complimentary session. That is a really nice way to connect with people in a low stakes, low cost way, and then begin to introduce them to what you're doing. Offer them a little bit of mentoring or coaching or healing or whatever it is that your modality is, and then toward the end talk about what might be the next step in working with them, and have that offer available. Have that next step thing that you think would be appropriate available. So these are some of the ways where I help people address that block that they come up against, which is approaching people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once someone starts approaching people and they start expanding their client base, do you ever encounter that people have blocks surrounding how successful they can be, or if they start self-sabotaging or pulling back from success?
Yes. And I have witnessed numerous clients and folks all around me in the larger world in which I operate, of my colleagues, you know, in my mastermind group and so forth, where they can suddenly freeze. And it's not just about necessarily approaching people. It's about a few different things. One is that in order to be a spiritual entrepreneur and have a real, viable, growing, lucrative business, it does take work. And I will not sugarcoat that. It takes work. It takes energy. It takes time. It takes commitment. And sometimes what I find is that people are tested as to whether they really want it once they see what it really is. And once they see that actually doing your sacred career, following your bliss, also has many moments of doing the laundry and doing the dishes, so to speak, business-wise. Because it's basically only a third of your time at the most that you are spending doing fulfillment of your classes, programs, sessions with people, and so forth. A third of the time is spent marketing your efforts, and a third of the time is spent making invitational calls. That becomes a shock for people once they can really see what it is, and that it is an ongoing process, and they can't just leave it for a month and go to Aruba unless they have made Aruba a part of their strategy, their business strategy for that month, where they're going to be doing things in Aruba or they're going to be working with clients while they're in Aruba, you know. So particularly for the first, few years of the business until it really gets up and running. But it is something that you get wedded to. So people have to come up against all sorts of characteristics, personality characteristics, and impediments that might come in toward sustaining the vision, toward sticking to it, toward continuing to move ahead, toward getting up every day if you had a bad day yesterday, brushing yourself off and working with your mentor to get back on the rail, and so forth. So, and for some people, it legitimately is really not the road for them, and that's fine. For others, though, they just need some encouragement and help through a mentor and through a support group, and that's why I always encourage get those two things set up, a mentor and a support group, to keep talking them back into their love and into feeling bright about what they're doing. Because there are down times, there's some drudgery associated with it, but you have to get back into it. But another critical thing that can happen, aside from just the, do I really want this as my lifestyle type thing, is people will freeze once they start getting to a certain critical mass of public presence. Because when you start really taking your gifts out there, that means you start working with more and more people. And you start making your gifts known to more and more people through your publicity and your mechanisms for letting people know what you're doing. You also will start to develop parts of yourself and parts of your gifts in a huge way. It's a tremendously creative enterprise to be able to flourish and challenge yourself to create that program. And gee, what are the other things I could offer? And oh my goodness, I could spend a half day with a person doing this, you know. I would love to do this type of thing with somebody. And wow, people actually would pay me for that, you know. Once you, though, start getting a little bit known, and once you start really digging into your beliefs, your gifts, a lot of what you're bringing out is countercultural. It's against the grain of what people accept as 3D reality. You know, you might be working with some very deep spiritual principles. You might be thinking about things that the average person does not believe are possible, those types of things. What I find, and this is extremely important for everyone on this call to know about, because if you haven't encountered it, you probably will, or if you have encountered it, you may not have even been conscious of what was happening. What I have discovered, what I have been led to understand esoterically, is that there is a program that kicks in the human race among light workers as soon as they step over a certain line with their knowledge or their brightness. And that program, which is there because we have friendly energies working with planet Earth and we have unfriendly energies working with planet Earth, and it is very important that as light workers we understand these energies are going on. The unfriendly energies, why they're there is a whole long story, but I won't go into it, but the unfriendly energies have set up a nice little meme whereby once you start crossing over a certain line, the red light goes off, the buzzer goes on, and you start feeling afraid. The message to you is you will be killed or harmed because of what you're doing. Now, for some people, this is triggering past life trauma. Yes, we have reincarnated, past lives are real, and the traumas continue to operate until we recognize what's going on and lift them off. Many men and women have witch burning traumas and other types of atrocity traumas that they are carrying with them from other lives. But whether you have that or not, there is the mean in this present culture, in this present world, to trip you into fear response once you get to a certain level. So, being harmed, you know, can take any numbers of aspects. It can be literal physical harm that you think you're going to get literally physically harmed, or you think maybe you're going to be ridiculed publicly, or you think maybe you're going to lose some status or a job somewhere, or you think you're going to lose a relationship because you're getting too woo-woo, or whatever it is. Many different ways we can define, you know, getting harmed in many different ways. So the real key here is to be working with people who can help you through that, help you understand the meme is getting triggered, and to help you work energetically and psychologically and through visualizations and all sorts of things to move through that, and also for you to have a good network of colleagues and friends who understand what you're doing and say you are not crazy, you are in your right mind, you need to stick with this, what you're bringing forth is revolutionary, it is helping the planet, and let's just breathe through this moment. So those are a couple of the things that come up where people might start retreating and self-sabotaging.
Okay. So we've discussed so many different things and challenges and blocks. What, in your experience, has been another huge block for people, and what is the positive side of it? How can you use it as something to propel you forward into your sacred career instead of stopping you and bringing you to a standstill? What's another crucial block?
Yeah, there is another crucial block, and this has to do with the relationships that you're in with others. Oftentimes it has to do with either, the most, of course, obvious is your significant other, your partner. Now, I have seen numbers of people who start down the road, they're very excited about what they're doing, but they are not fully supported by their partner, or they realize they probably are not going to be fully supported by their partner emotionally. Even if that partner may offer some of the money for you to do the mentoring and for you to invest in your business expenses and so forth, and there are many. But usually what happens is they'll start either never telling their spouse or partner, or hiding it, or playing it down, because they have a fear that if they showed themselves fully, they would rock the boat of the relationship. Now, it is important for people to do a lot of soul searching around this, and I work with people every day of the week. I work with them to help them through this, and I also refer other practitioners who can help through counseling modalities, hypnotherapy and reframing and all that type of thing. But sometimes people will actually just stop the whole process because they realize they're getting to that critical point where it's going to get big or it's going to happen, and they are just too afraid to rock the boat of the relationship. And I have numerous clients in this situation. So one of the things that I do is that I work with people to, first of all, we go into a meditation and we visualize. So, in fact, I'm going to do this right now with everybody on the call. So let's just close our eyes and take a deep breath in. Exhaling and inhale. And exhaling and another inhale and exhaling. And feeling your abdomen as like a tree trunk. And we're asking Mother Earth for permission to ground ourselves, send that tree trunk into the earth. And feeling that welcome, dropping that trunk all the way down through the layers into the center of Mother Earth. And seeing it wrap tightly around the central molten iron crystal of Gaia 3 times. And feeling that influx of energy from Gaia's center, Gaia's core womb, up into your abdomen. And up through the central channel of your body and out through the auric field of your body that goes at least 3 feet in every direction. So you are feeling grounded. And you are going to see in front of you a contract on the floor. That represents your contract with yourself. And I'd like you to see a number between 1 and 50. 1, 2, 3. Whatever first came into your mind. This is the number of people that it serves your highest good to include and write into your self-contract. Meaning, this is the number of people who will be invited to move with you as you ascend to this new level of your life and your career. They will somehow move with you in growth or partnership. And those who will not will fall away, and that will be a natural part of what you need to do as a light worker to allow for them to go on to their path and for you to go on to yours. And see that contract filled with golden light, and asking your personal guides and if there are deities you work with to send a blessing, and a blessing of peace to you so that you may move through this with equanimity, calm. Taking a deep breath in, exhaling, moving your fingers and toes, and gently opening your eyes. So this is a powerful visualization, and it is important to do it in accord with your highest good, not, gee, I want so-and-so to come with me, so I'm going to put them in the contract. You need to look and intuit with your guides, does so-and-so belong in your contract? And by using the numbers, you don't have to intellectually figure it out. You just know you've done the energy work and that will take care of itself. So a lot of this work that I do with clients is on a very deeply spiritual level. We work with the emotions, we work with the visualizations, we work with the belief structures, because more than anything, it's your state of mind, your beliefs, your capacity for what you can allow into your life that will determine your level of being able to carry forth the business more than anything. And it is these issues that come up again and again that we all work through. Moving into and through a sacred business is a shamanic journey. And if anybody has had a shamanic journey, you know that it can be heaven and it can be hell. So it is important to have the supports, and particularly a mentor or a business coach or someone to be there to help you through the moments that feel like hell, that are really just growth moments, because there's also a lot of character development and strengthening that goes on with this process. It tests your mettle. It asks you, do you want to fully incarnate in this lifetime? Do you want to release some of the karma from past lifetimes where you were thwarted, were tortured, or where you tortured others? Do you want to really move into being an evolutionary worker in the spirit realm? If so, here's what is required, dear one. And it can be challenging, but it can be moved through. So these are some of the things and some of the ways I work with people, in addition to the sheer nuts and bolts. You know, I have in my high-end program, my Sacred Career Development Program, it's a 6-month program, I work with people first with a half-day intensive, where prior to coming to me, they have answered play sheets that are all about what's their spiritual history, beliefs, and goals, and what is their business and professional history and goals. And then we work together in a ritual format, and then we really hammer out, and I help people develop the weave of the vision of what it is they're doing, where they're going over the next 3 months. And then I help them with practical steps. And it's a very, very ecstatic experience. I mean, the lid comes off for people. They get so excited. And then we go through the process. And then there are, like in any relationship, your relationship with your business is like your relationship with anything. The issues come up. And in order to really, though, come into fruition and fulfillment with who you are and what you're meant to do, you need to move through those challenges and move through those issues, because In The Lord of the Rings, there's the moment where Galadriel can take the ring and have the powers of the universe, and she decides not to take it and go back to being Galadriel. And that is the right ethical thing for her right there. But I'm encouraging people to be Galadriel with the ring, which is being in ethics, in alignment with who you are as an empowered king or queen that you are, and really working that so that you can bring the healing, bring the consciousness to the planet, be purifying yourself at the same time, going through your own journey, and come out a different person and move on to a different incarnation where you have cleared out a lot of the karma.
Wow, this is just on some level overwhelming. I mean, it's just so huge.
Yeah.
Could you summarize?
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge. But you know what? You take it step by step.
Okay.
And it's very exciting. It's so, when you start actually putting together what you know how to do, and when you start getting your first clients or getting your first clients in your new incarnation, start working with them, start seeing what a much bigger effect you are having in their lives because of working through this business model, there is nothing like it. And there are so many victories along the way. It is, you're doing things that few people dare to do. And it is so comforting to know that it actually can be done, that there actually is a model, that there actually are people and thought forms and supports in order to help you to do it. And you can have just great, great days with this. And it's so personally fulfilling when you have challenged yourself to come up with a new program that you didn't really think of before, but you had threads of this in your mind. Then you go out and you do the teaching and you get the feedback and you realize, wow, I am in a virtual loop with the universe now. I am doing what I'm supposed to do. It's ecstatic.
That sounds wonderful. Could you take a moment to sort of elaborate on, outside of me personally and like being fulfilled and living my dream, why the world needs me to step up and step out as a sacred server?
Yeah. This is critical, and I deal with this a lot in some of my other free webinars and some of my paid webinars, like Cultivating Yourself as a Priestess and Developing Shamanic Power as a Man. It is really important for people now who are of a spiritual nature to fully develop their spiritual capacity for themselves and for others, because the world needs you. We are at a critical juncture. We can see it all around us. There's the threat of environmental catastrophe. There's the threat of violence. There's the threat of so many different things. So we are changing the world from the inside out. And by allowing money to come to you, you're changing the economy from the inside out. Once we start shifting the economy, the capitalistic economy, in this direction, there's going to be other ways in which the economy shifts, and maybe not in that catastrophic way everyone is predicting, right? It could be gentler. There could be other forms, other thought forms that come out as a result of this, as people really step into sacred career. The world needs your medicine. They need to hear, people need to hear what you have to say. They need to receive what you have to give. You are part of the wave of people who are bringing us to a new level of consciousness, a new dimensional awareness on the planet. There are going to be thought forms and processes and energies and understandings that you're going to bring in through developing yourself as a sacred world server who's making money at it, that are critical for our world at this time. So I highly encourage people to take your work seriously, to understand that in order to take your work seriously, you will need to have a business plan, a business model, business guidance, mentoring, and so forth, and get busy with it.
So what are the various support systems that you offer through the school to help people in this journey and to give them the tools and strength and encouragement and inspiration that they need?
Yeah, several. And there's a very, very good one coming up that is enrolling now. I now have 3 or 4 places in it. It's called the Exclusive Mentoring Circle. This is an excellent way for people to test out whether they want to actually do this kind of a business model with a discrete project that they want to start bringing to fruition at a very reasonable price point and with appropriate guidance. It's a 2-month program that is online on phone, a small group of 6. We meet every Wednesday, and this is going to start July 10th and move through August 28th, 10 to 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And there are people who call in from all over. And this is a program in which you get some instruction and some basics in the business model. You talk about what is the project you want to be working on. And then every other week you get 20 minutes worth of laser mentoring from me to help propel you forward. And it is amazing what can be packed into those 20 minutes to propel you for the next 2 weeks until your next call. Then you are listening to the mentoring of the others on the call, and you end up learning 6 times as much as you would if we were just working together, because everything that comes up for everyone else is relevant to you, things you might not have realized but that are. So there's a tremendous amount of teaching that goes on in those 90 minutes for each of those calls. And then you also get a half-hour private mentoring with me at the end to talk about, okay, where are you? What are the next steps? So it's a very, very robust program. I'm enrolling it now. The cost is $261 a month for 4 months. So that's not a very big investment. Or if you want to pay it all up front, it's $997, a little bit lower. And if people want to enroll, or want more information, they should contact Kimberly, and the email address is Kimberly@sevensistersmysteryschool.com, and the 7 is written out, S-E-V-E-N, Kimberly@sevensistersmysteryschool.com. That is enrolling now. Again, there are only a few spaces left, so I highly encourage people to sign up for that. If when you inquire, you mention that you listen to this call, we will give you a $50 discount off of that. So your first payment will be $50 less, or your whole entire upfront payment will be $50 less. So we will be doing that. I also have a half-day program that I do with people as a standalone, where it's like 3 months worth of coaching in 3 hours, and I talked a little bit about that earlier, how that works. And then some people continue on from that with the full 6-month Sacred Career Development Program, where you get 3 calls a month of coaching for 45 minutes each, and some other access to some of my other programs, one of which will be starting in the fall, which will be a teaching content program about how to launch a sacred business. So I think summer is a great time for people who are serious about this to really launch in and jump in. It's like a stealth time where while everyone else is, on vacation or kind of taking it easy or whatever, you're getting your business together so that you can hit the ground running in September when people are willing and ready and interested in purchasing what you have to offer. So that's what I would emphasize. I really highly recommend that you inquire with us about that. and sign on right away. Any other last question?
Do you have some parting inspiration for why someone should, do this sacred business, even though there are some blocks and there are some scary bits? Just a last moment of sort of excitement.
Yeah. I would say that it allows you to fulfill your destiny. It allows you to relax in knowing that this incarnation, you worked it to the hilt. You did what you agreed to. You brought what you needed forth. You completed your mission. You experienced life in ever deeper ways. You genuinely helped others, and you helped the planet. And so it is worth investigating, starting into this, going more deeply, challenging yourself in ways you never thought, because the rewards will be tremendous. And there is nothing like it. And it is a rare gift to actually be in a place in time where the supports are available all around you for how to do this, so that you can be led through in partnership and supported by others, community, mentors, as well as the higher forces. And it is a deeply spiritual path that is the completion and the fulfillment of who you are as a spiritual being. So, with that, I will bid everyone farewell. Again, please contact us and Kimberly at sevensistersmysteryschool.com to inquire about or register in the exclusive mentoring circle and anything else. And I just wish everyone on the call many blessings. I hope this has been helpful. Maybe it has already given you a jump start. And please stay in touch with all of us. All right, Kimberly, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Marguerite.
And once again, we will see you with the next installment. Bye, everybody. Take care. Many blessings.
The moderator has left the conference.